New York City Mayor Adams gets raided by the FBI. They take his phone, his iPad, and he was not expecting that. So we're going to go through the story and see what the FBI is looking into and why they might be going after Mayor Adams just suddenly out of nowhere. Could it be because he's criticizing Joe Biden's border policy? Maybe. The FBI is also very upset about a decision to relocate the FBI headquarters. They say it's too far for us to drive into work. And we're the FBI. We like things nice and pampered in our lifestyle. And so we'll hit that story too. But the big one caught a lot of people by surprise is the raid of Mayor Adams taking his personal devices. This came from the New York Times saying that they seized his electronic devices early this week in what appeared to be a dramatic escalation of a criminal inquiry, and this is not good, into whether his 2021 campaign conspired with the Turkish government and others to funnel money into its coffers, saying the agents approached the mayor after an event in Manhattan Monday evening. They talked to his security detail. They said, "Hey, we're the FBI. Back away from the mayor," a person with knowledge of the matter said. They climbed into the SUV with him. They said, "Hi, Mr. Mayor, we've got a search warrant here from a federal district judge. We have the right to take your devices." Probably like on the phone. He's like, "Hey, honey, I got to call you back." The devices, at least 2 cell phones and an iPad, were returned to the mayor within a matter of days, according to the person and another who familiar with the situation. They say law enforcement investigators with a search warrant can make copies of the data up on the devices after they seize them. Now, a lawyer for the mayor of New York and his campaign said in a statement that the mayor was cooperating, had already proactively reported at least one instance of improper behavior. After learning of the investigation, it was discovered that an individual had recently acted improperly, said the lawyer. In the spirit of transparency, this behavior was immediately and proactively reported. So he found somebody to throw under the bus. Johnson said that Adams has not been accused of wrongdoing, immediately complied with their request, said that he had attended a university anniversary celebration at the New York University. The statement did not identify the individual or the conduct. Mr. Adams said that, quote, "As a former member of law enforcement, I expect all members of my staff to follow the law and fully cooperate with any sort of investigation. It was a surprise seizure." Earlier in the week, we talked about one of his top bundlers, campaign fundraisers, had her place raided, and then he was on the way to Washington, D.C. and just canceled the trip, hit the reverse button, and turned it on back to New York. Said it appeared to be the first direct instance of a campaign contribution investigation touching the mayor. Mr. Adams, a retired police captain, said he's strident in urging everyone to follow the law. He laughed at the notion that he's got any criminal exposure. Yeah, I'm sure that that's what Menendez thought too. Now, spokesman for the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. The federal investigation began when they searched the home of his chief fundraiser. They got 2 laptop computers from her, and they took a manila folder from that location named Eric Adams, a folder with his name on it. Her name was Brianna, 25-year-old, former intern, not spoken out about this, and he hit the panic button when she got raided. He reversed from D.C. Raid abruptly returned from D.C., only arrived, just gotten there. On Wednesday, he said his abrupt return was driven by his desire to be present for his team and out of concern for Miss Suggs, who had gone through a traumatic experience. Yeah, Brianna, a 25-year-old former intern who had her home raided, who bundles millions of dollars for the mayor. He's about to go meet with people at the White House, and he's like, "I gotta go home. Brianna's in trouble." Right. "Although I'm mayor, I have not stopped being a man and a human." Well, I guess that's one explanation. But he also said that he did not speak with Miss Suggs on the day of the raid to avoid any appearance of interfering in an ongoing investigation. Yeah. Or because you don't want to be so obvious. The warrant obtained by the FBI to search her home sought evidence of a conspiracy to violate the law between Mr. Adams' campaign and the Turkish government and Turkish nationals. Apparently, there was a construction company called KSK Construction whose owners originally are from Turkey, and the warrant also sought records about donations to Bay Atlantic University, a D.C. college whose founder is Turkish. The warrant that was reviewed by the New York Times, man, we'd love to see it. Could you publish it, please? No. Indicated authorities were looking at whether the government and Turkish nationals funneled donos to Mr. Adams using a so-called straw donor scheme. It's weird. We're seeing all this corruption in elections right now. It's weird. Like, why did all this start this year? I mean, it's like our elections were perfect. They said it was the most secure election. We had none of this stuff was going on. We had no ballot stuffing. We had no signature problems. We had no campaign laundering, money laundering schemes. None of it. And it all just started all of a sudden. Suddenly weird. Now, 2024 is probably going to have to be fortified by the government, isn't it? So the warrant also inquired about Mr. Adams' campaign use of the New York City's generous public matching program. So he's also ripping off the taxpayers. And authorities also sought evidence as to whether Adams or any campaign member provided any benefit to Turkey or the construction company in exchange for campaign donations. What's also weird about this, it's a bunch of other Democrats Democrats, but like Joe Biden and Hunter and James and Sarah and Hallie and all these people who are also, kind of in similar activities, like they're totally innocent also. It's weird. It's coincidental, but they're definitely innocent and these people are not. So this is not the first time that Adams or his orbit have attracted law enforcement scrutiny. In September, Eric Ulrich, Mr. Adams' former buildings commissioner, also got busted. Mr. Bragg indicted 6 people, a retired police inspector who socialized with Adams, but not Adams himself. He's had skirmishes with law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. So the FBI, they're always flexing, and I'm more skeptical of the FBI. I mean, first of all, I'm skeptical of all politicians, right? I think they're mostly corrupt. That's the default rule. But the FBI just selectively picks which ones to go and prosecute, and I don't doubt that there is an ulterior motive behind it for whatever reason. But it does seem to me like this might be a warning to all the other state mayors. Don't you dare complain about what's happening in our cities with border problems spilling over into various states. He was somebody who traveled around to speak out about it. He wanted $5 billion from the Biden administration. Now he's under federal investigation. So not a surprise. FBI kind of gets what it wants. They're very upset now about a decision to relocate the FBI headquarters. Christopher Wray sent an email. I don't like to drive. Okay, this is the guy who doesn't like to get in his car to drive to the headquarters. He just hops on his private flight to fly like 6 minutes when he wants to get there. Now, they are voicing concerns now that the process to select a new home for the agency was tainted by alleged conflicts of interest, saying that the FBI called on Thursday for the reversal of a decision to relocate the headquarters to suburban Maryland. They say that the federal agency tasked with overseeing the relocation, called the GSA, General Services Administration, which oversees the federal real estate, failed to address what they say are conflicts of interest in the selection process, which means, man, these GSA people better be careful. They're about to be indicted. In an internal message sent to FBI employees on Thursday that was obtained by Politico, which again, I wish they'd publish, FBI Director Wray blasted the decision. He fired an email. I hate driving, to move the agency to Greenbelt, saying that the 3-person panel made up of 2 GSA officials and 1 FBI official unanimously recommended a site in Virginia for the new headquarters. We don't want to go to Maryland, but instead a political appointee at the GSA chose the Greenbelt site against the panel's recommendation. He said the agency's objection was not with the Greenbelt site, but rather with the appearance of improprieties in the process, writing that we have concerns about fairness and transparency in the process and the GSA's failure to adhere to its own site selection plan. Our concerns are unresolved. It was also revealed that Wray had sent a letter to the GSA administration raising concerns about conflicts, saying the FBI was concerned that the Greenbelt parcel of land is owned by the Washington Metro Area Transit Authority, which was the senior official's immediate prior employer. Basically, he's saying you can use this land, which will be a benefit to that agency. While the senior official was not named in Wray's messages, documents published indicate the official is Nina Albert, who was then a commissioner of the Public Services Building. Now she serves as the DC acting deputy mayor for planning and development. She didn't respond to requests for comment. Wray's rare public rebuke was immediately seized upon by Virginia lawmakers. They're calling for the FBI to honor the decision and put it in Virginia. In Virginia, Glenn Youngkin and Republicans, they say this process is bad. So Virginia wants the FBI there, obviously. And the GSA is rejecting Wray's claims, saying any suggestion of any inappropriate interference is unfounded. Well, they better be careful. They're all about to be FBI'd. Don't want that to happen. The GSA also published a letter sent to Wray, said, we've done a thorough review of our process. This is the best location for you. And I think the FBI should be just, like really disbanded and have just different, defer it back to local states, essentially. Or like Jim Jordan says, put them in Alabama, which would be, I think he wants them in Alabama, but I don't wish that upon our friends in Alabama, unfortunately. Now, the White House is standing behind the GSA. Aboard Air Force One, said, Olivia Dalton said, I can tell you it was fair and transparent. The 61 acres in Greenbelt is both the lowest cost to taxpayers, most transportation office options for the FBI, who get very agitated when they have to sit in traffic, and we had the most assurances about the expeditious means with which a project could get underway. On Wednesday, they said it's going to be built in Greenbelt, and they're going to relocate J. Edgar Hoover building that is already in downtown Washington. The Marylanders pushed for the site, both in the suburbs. There were Maryland bids. Steny Hoyer wanted it there. Virginia fought for the FBI training center in Quantico, and Virginia's very mad. How dare you take the FBI away from us? All right. So if Christopher Wray's unhappy, great news here as far as I'm concerned. And so enjoy Maryland, having all the feds in your state if that stays forward. For some reason, I have my doubts about it. When Director Wray wants to exercise the full weight of the FBI against his political opponents, he sure does. And so we'll see if he's able to get that done and keep this FBI headquarters in his backyard so he can just, motor on there. We'll continue to cover Wray's shenanigans and more. Thank you for subscribing, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.